Oh, hi! How you guys doing? What are you doing here? Want some tea? Maybe? It's pretty good. No? Alright. I know why you guys are here. You want an action figure review. How about this? I just recently got the 1994 X-Men Pyro figure. Fantastic figure. Absolutely awesome. He's got hoses and kind of bug eyes, and he's yellow. This isn't what you're here for, is it? Well, alright, fine, be that way. Jeez, I don't know what you could want. Oh, right, I do album reviews on this channel. I forget about that sometimes. Jeez, I haven't listened to music in a long time. There's one album I've heard recently that I kind of wanted to give my 5 cents on, so you know what? Here's my 1 cent. I'll give it on this album. The album in question is the new album by post-hardcore veterans At the Drive-In. It is called Inter Alia, I think. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. Inter Alia. I don't know how to say it. That's how I'm going to say Inter Alia, which sounds like Centralia, which is where I live by, so that's kind of cool. Those of you who don't know who At the Drive-In is, they are a post-hardcore band from the mid-90s that was a major influence on the bands that were part of the post-hardcore explosion of the early to mid-2000s. My personal taste is very much rooted in that genre. Like, I love post-hardcore as a genre. I prefer the early to late 2000s stuff personally, but I have a soft spot for the older stuff, such as At the Drive-In. They're part of the what I would call the first wave of the second generation of post-hardcore bands. Other bands I would sort of lump them in with would be Boy Sets Fire, Refused, Glassjaw, and also for the sake of what I mean by second generation, I mean bands that were considered to be part of the emo scene of the mid-2000s. I consider all of these bands to be very influential, and I consider the bands I just mentioned to be the forerunners of that generation. I would consider the second wave to be bands like Silverstein, Hawthorne Heights, Emery, Under Oath, The Used, etc., etc. I believe that if it wasn't for bands like At the Drive-In, those bands would not exist. So, here's the issue. This is a hard band for me to talk about because I am not a huge fan of At the Drive-In, but the fact that they haven't done an album in like 17 years kind of made me go, yeah! And I saw this at a store, and it was cheap, and I was like, yeah! So, here's the best way I can explain it to you guys. Up until this point of listening to this album, my only experience with At the Drive-In had been their previous albums. Like, I've never seen them live. I just know them from hearing their records. And the thing is, I didn't like Relationship of Command, which is what most people consider to be their best album. Like, their big, shining, their version of, like, Master of Puppets or Raining Blood, maybe. I think it's an okay album, but I don't really see what the hype's about. And I listened to it just recently, like, before this came out. I have it sitting on the shelf behind me here. I listened to it, and I was like, I still don't think it's a great album. I'd give it, like, a C or something like that. Now, you might be like, well, if you didn't like the last thing you heard about them, why would you do this? Well, like I said already, I was curious. Long time between albums, maybe something changed. And honestly, I like their 2 albums before Relationship of Command, and I thought they were pretty good, and so I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll look into it. Now, the only question is, what does it sound like? Well, as for the general sound of the album, it's got that early punk sound that the first two At the Drive-In albums had, which the first two albums I'm referring to, by the way, are uh, Acrobatic Tenement, I believe it's called, and In Casino Out. Those are both the albums I'm referring to. This, I think, has more in common with those two albums sound-wise. Not that it's that far, that Relation of Command was far removed from those, but this, I think, is more visceral and punky, and I love it. It's just really, really good. Like, yeah, we needed some good punky music that's not, like, too emo, I guess, for lack of a better word. Like, there's not a lot of, like, high vocals, and it's pretty in your face, and I like that. 5 stars on that, guys. As for the musicianship, I was a little worried because the guys, one or two of the guys in At the Drive-In went on to form the Mars Volta, which, if you know anything about them, their stuff's really weird and proggy, and I like them, but that's not what I want to hear when I hear At the Drive-In, so I was like, this is either going to be really proggy and weird, or they're going to do something great, and, you know, maybe it won't be proggy and weird. I was right. It's more punky like their early stuff. But where this album, in my opinion, shines, and where I feel like Relationship of Command didn't, is the vocals and the lyrics. The vocals and lyrics for this album, ladies and gentlemen, sound menacing and very, very angry. And I like that. I don't feel like Relationship of Command had that going for it. And I think that made it suffer. And I think the lyrics in this are a lot more clever, too. I'm not 100% sure what the lyrics are about. Usually I do a more in-depth lyrical analysis before I review an album, but this is like, I've only listened to this like 3 or 4 times since I've gotten it, so it's still a little bit fresh in my mind. Perhaps I'll come back and do a lyrical analysis video on it or something like that. Put that English degree I have to good use. But from what I can tell, they're very social conscious, and a lot of it seems to be tied into modern events, so that's kind of nifty. So, I guess what I'm saying is, if you already like At the Drive-In, I see no reason for you not to get this, because you'll probably like it anyway. If you were a fan of their earlier work, I think this will be right up your alley. If you were more of a fan of Relationship of Command and the what is it called, the Via EP? Voya? I don't know. That EP is a little bit more aggressive than that, which is what I like. All in all, I give this album a pretty good review, like a C++. Maybe a B-. B-. Yeah, I'd say a B-. And that's about all I have to say for this, guys, and I hope you like what I said, like this album if you look into it. If you don't, that's cool too. Don't listen to me. I am literally a guy who lives in my parents' basement and talks about music no one cares about. I'm the Adamsaurus, signing out. Farewell.